Yes, guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be discussing a lot of transfer news around Frenkie De Jong, Ngolo Kante, Darwin Nunez, and Christopher Nkunku all coming to the club this summer. Who's going to be coming, how close are the deals, etc. But before we get into it, please make sure that you do like and subscribe. Now, we got a lot of news coming out from Laurie Whitwell last night, who's a Manchester United correspondent and very credible around Manchester United news. And we'll start off with the Frenkie De Jong news. And what's coming out is that he's basically confirmed that Manchester United are negotiating a transfer fee with Barcelona for Frenkie De Jong. Now, these are some big developments in this transfer because, as we know, people were saying, oh, why would Barcelona want to sell, blah, blah, blah. We knew there was interest, but was the willingness to actually sell De Jong there? Well, now it clearly is. I think the fact that Barcelona need a lot of money now to be able to rebuild under Xavi, they've been talking about signing players like Lewandowski, etc. They're going to need cash to do that, and they don't have any. So selling De Jong, their most valuable player, does make sense. And basically, what's coming out is that at this point, Manchester United are increasingly confident they can do a deal with Barcelona for De Jong, and all that's left is to convince the player. And there, some people are even saying there's already an agreement with the club, but again, it's just convincing De Jong to come to the club. I think initially, Champions League football was a big issue for De Jong. He doesn't really want to leave Barca, let's be honest. But if Barcelona say, look, you're our most valuable player, we need cash and we need to sell you to be able to do our rebuild. So please, can you leave? I think he's just going to have to leave, take the L and move on. And I do think he'd end up probably coming to United because you look at Ten Hag, you look at the Premier League, what's not to come for? The only reason he wouldn't come is because of Champions League football. And let's be real, we'll probably be back in the Champions League in a season or so if we're lucky. So, yeah, if you are Frenkie De Jong, I think there's going to be a bit of convincing to do because we aren't in the Champions League. So it's not as easy as him to just say yes, yes, yes. But we know that Ten Hag's been calling him. And yeah, I do think that we can get this deal over the line if we can agree a fee. And people are talking about a fee already being agreed. You look at Gerard Romero, he said this deal would be done by the end of May. We're coming towards the end of May now, so are we going to start to see a fee agreed in the coming days? It's getting very exciting around Frenkie De Jong, and if we can pull this off, this would be absolutely insane transfer for us to do. Now, what's also very interesting is that we're not really seeing Barcelona negotiating with any other clubs. We've heard maybe Man City are interested, maybe PSG are interested, but it does seem like just Barcelona and United, the ones who are strongly negotiating at the moment, and that's a big positive. However, we must be wary that if someone else tries to swoop in, De Jong might fancy Champions League football over us. So let's just be very careful. But at this point in time, I'm very confident that we are actually going to get this deal over the line because Barcelona want to sell. They're negotiating with us. So there's clearly a willingness to sell. United clearly want to buy him, and they clearly want to get Erik ten Hag what he wants. We need a midfield as well, and this links very well onto basically Manchester United and Erik ten Hag wanting to prioritize their funds on a midfielder rather than a striker or a centre back. That's also coming from Laurie Whitwell, the same source. And I think that's very important because we should be signing two midfielders. That links very well to our story on N'Golo Kante. Look, if you've watched Ten Hag's Ajax teams over the years, you'll know that he doesn't really play with one lone DM. He sort of seems to play with a 2 and then a 10. And I think this is where we're not signing a one lone central defensive midfielder, say, for example, Declan Rice, Fabinho, Rodri, someone like that. I don't think that's what we're looking for. I think we're looking for two midfielders who can create that sort of pivot in the middle, that double pivot that we have seen with McFred, but they just can't do it because they're shit. And well, Fred's alright, and I think Fred could do well, but McTominay just really can't do it, and that's why I think we need to sign two midfielders. I think if you had De Jong and Kante, it sounds crazy even saying it, but De Jong and someone like Kante, Lema we've been linked to, Ruben Neves, for example, Calvin Phillips, any one of these guys, and there's loads more. I think that would be fantastic for Ten Hag's system because I think now we need to start looking at who are the best players for our system, not who are the best players on the market, for example. And yeah, we'll talk about N'Golo Kante now. And this is what's coming from Laurie Whitwell again, is that Kante is wanted by Man United, who is expected to be made available for a reasonable fee due to his contract expiring in 12 months, and Tuchel wants to freshen up Chelsea's midfield. Now, Kante doesn't start week in, week out for Chelsea anymore. He does have his fitness concerns, but we all know how good N'Golo Kante is, how good he was back in the day, and he's still a good player. He just hasn't been starting for Chelsea as much as he used to. He isn't their main midfield man anymore. they've got a lot of good midfielders at the club, and I do think that they'll be looking to sign maybe Declan Rice. I think Chelsea could go for Declan Rice, let Kante go, and we could get Kante. His contract's up in 12 months, so honestly, I could see you getting Kante for 30, 40 million. But it comes here with the struggle that do Chelsea want to really strengthen a rival? Because under Ten Hag, I think we are going to be serious rivals for that top four spot next year, and potentially in the future, a title. Who knows? And with N'Golo Kante there, and do they really want to do that? Because imagine Kante, De Jong in the midfield. Oh my god, that is that is insane. That is insane. It's insane to even say it, but if we could get De Jong and Kante, that would be unbelievable business by United. And do you know what the crazy thing is? Is that these deals actually would make sense. But I do think that De Jong is very, very realistic. I think Kante, the only thing stopping us from doing this deal really is just Chelsea not wanting to sell to a rival, and maybe if someone else is interested, they'd rather sell to them. But N'Golo Kante coming to the club, that would be a fantastic move. The only concern I would have personally is his injury record and his fitness. But that's always something that can be worked on. Obviously, N'Golo Kante is 30 now, 31 I think he is. And when you're a player like Kante, who plays with such intensity and such explosiveness, I think his injuries could start racking up a bit more. So that is the only concern I've got. But as a player, I think he's a wonderful player, and I'd love him at the club. Now, moving into our story about Darwin Nunez and Christopher Nkunku, pretty much. So what's coming out from Laurie Whitwell again is that talks have taken place over Darwin Nunez. George Mendes has told Benfica he can get them around 80 million euros. Now, as you know, George Mendes works closely with United over players such as Ronaldo, David De Gea, etc. He works really strongly in Portugal, and obviously Darwin Nunez coming from the Portuguese league. We know that Darwin Nunez has brought in George Mendes to help him get a move to the Premier League, and I do think that Darwin Nunez's preferred destination would be the Premier League. However, it seems that Manchester United are willing to wait rather than be persuaded into paying the initial fee for Darwin Nunez. Man United have made an approach for Christopher Nkunku if Leipzig have become more open to selling. Now, we've seen over recent days that Manchester United are really, really interested in signing Christopher Nkunku. However, it seems that Leipzig are adamant they do not want to sell him this summer. And it's been really, really hard for United, I think, to negotiate with Leipzig because they're adamant that Nkunku is not leaving, which is understandable. If you look at what he's done for them this season, he's been one of the best players in Europe this season for Leipzig. And why would they want to let him go this early? Who knows? He has another season like he did this season. Next season, his price goes up to 80, 90 million. Let's be real. So, obviously, you're looking at Manchester United rumored to want 100 million to sign Darwin Nunez. If Benfica want 100 million from Man United, then they can piss off because that is absolutely ridiculous. It seems that United see this as way too high and want Benfica to come down to a more reasonable price. This is a good move from United because look, we're not going to be bullied by flipping Benfica into signing Darwin Nunez, alright? Look, if we can't get Nkunku and we can't get Nunez, then there's no point just splashing cash at Nunez just because. I'd rather spend that kind of money in the midfield and just maybe even just sign a cheaper striker who, look, it could be someone like Richarlison. I think a lot of people have a problem with Richarlison, but I actually do like the idea of Richarlison coming to the club. Obviously, he's not my preferred guy. My number one guy is Nkunku, but I think at this point in time, Richarlison for 30, 40 million is kind of what's looking likely at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see. But Manchester United do need to find another striker because it seems that Nunez is way too high and Kunku's too much. And Anthony, to be honest, I'd love at the club, but I don't see us taking two Ajax players because I do think we're going to sign Timber. I think he'll be our first signing and their manager. So I think that's kind of taking the piss. So I don't think we'll get Anthony. So I am interested to see who's going to start coming out around our striking options. But as it stands, Manchester United signing De Jong and Kante, it's looking, I don't want to say it's looking increasingly likely. It's not very likely, but increasingly likely. And yeah, we just have to wait and see what comes out now. I think this De Jong news is going to start ramping up. But yeah, guys, make sure you do like and subscribe. And thank you guys for watching.